we can see the lights down at Tumon Bay. We can hold hands, walk the beach with Kay. Right? And if you like, baby, we can jump into that sexy mode. I'll make your body fold, make your body cream while you're holding me.
A Healthier You, Making Diabetes History on Guam.
Presented in partnership with Calvo Select Care and Paradise Fitness Center.
So I want you to know.
All right, and welcome back to The Link, everybody, and our special week-long series on how we as a community, as one island family, can control diabetes, understanding it, knowing what happens, and knowing where we are going with this through technology, through education, through love for one another, and through these various techniques that we're bringing you today. We are going to get this done, and the one thing we've really tried to emphasize is diabetes is a disease, but it is a disease that can be controlled. Of course, we had Dr. Dolores Lee yesterday talking about what some of the symptoms are, some of the treatment plans, and now we are actually joined. We have all hands on deck for this thing, and that is exactly the point, because that's what it takes. Let me run through this very impressive roster of professionals right now. Our dear friend Rose Calvo, who is the supermarket dietitian for Payless Markets Guam, joins us. I have not had the pleasure of interviewing my friend Rose in a couple of years because of that whole pandemic thing since the last time we did Kick the Fat together. So Rose, always good to have you on, and we appreciate your insight on this topic today. All right, good morning to you. Also, our friend Agnes White, a registered nurse. Certainly, Agnes, I would dare say that probably dealing with patients who have diabetes in our island community is something you're probably very familiar with.
Yes, I do more diabetes education. So I'm familiar with the pitfalls that many people encounter. And I'd be glad to share that to you.
And we thank you for lending your voice to this discussion. Certainly very, very valid. We're going all the way down to Boca Box, where our friend Jess Rosario, who has made literally a career out of taking care of Guamanians, teaching each and every one of us how to eat better, how to approach food better, and how to live healthier lives. So Chubi, you're always, you basically got your own virtual parking spot at KUM. You know that, bro.
And thank you guys. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very, very happy to be here.
All right. And from Paradise Fitness Center, one of the many partners that we are working with on this very special series, our friend Mike Scroll. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. And did you already get your morning workout in? Well, I'm thinking it's 9:08 in the morning. You've probably done like the 3 workouts, knowing you.
No. Lunchtime.
Okay. Well, again, we'll be doing squats during this one, so no worries. And then we're going to go to Calvo Select Care, again, one of the many fine partners who has partnered with us to bring you this week-long series. Our good friend, Frank Tempilo, the plan administrator, and someone who has really done a lot of work for, Frank, going on 2 decades now that you've actually really structured your programs in a way that would help people live healthier lives.
A little more than that, but yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to participate in this morning's debate and discussion, and especially to share some of the programs that we offer to our members at Calvo Select Care, which, by the way, we partner with most of the people that are here in the audience in this video call. Most of them offer their programs in partnership with Calvo Select Care.
Mm. It feels like either high school or a big party right now, because we all know each other, we've all worked with each other. We're all concerned Guamanians, and we want to take care of our community. And we are talking about the topic of prevention and care right now. So let's start back at the beginning. So Rose, when it comes to you, when you're approaching, the very prevalent problem of diabetes in our community, and trying to educate people on how diet affects the possibility of getting diabetes, or even if you already have diabetes and everything like that, how do you kind of approach that very sensitive topic?
So if we're thinking meeting people one-on-one, I start with a pretty intense interview, not to sound scary, but you really need to see where the person is at, what they're already doing, what they've tried. So before I can give any recommendations, it's really important just to know as much as you can about the person. And then just as a basic start, I try to go back to My Plate. If you haven't heard of My Plate, it's the way we balance food groups, and we do have a Payless plate. So we go over balancing food groups really as the most basic concept for trying to eat healthier.
Nice. Okay, so let's go to the Boca Box now, because Jess, one of the things that you always tell existing customers of yours, subscribers, and people who may not have considered checking out your healthy meals and everything like that, is just because you have to eat healthy and eat different doesn't mean you have to give up, flavor. Because a lot of people think it's like, oh, okay, well, basically I'm going to be eating cardboard for the rest of my life. But that certainly is not the case. And you're actually passing along that message to them.
Yeah, for any lifestyle change, you have to make it realistic to people. And one of the reasons why I kind of got started in the Boca Box and why I kind of created this was when I was working at the hospital. One of my jobs was to go into the patients' rooms and talk to them about their diets when they're being discharged and how to make it a lifestyle change. But a lot of what happens is people go home with the pamphlets and things that we give them, and then it's hard for them to do on their own. So, to make it a little bit more convenient, I started the Boca Box to do just that. They didn't have to do any of the thinking, any of the shopping, any of the cooking, because a lot of times people just don't know how to do that for themselves. And so if I can take the knowledge that I have working with the great partners here all in the room, and just make it easier for them to live a life that they can enjoy with the food that they love, that's a win on our side.
For me, and Paradise, I have a special relationship with them because, when you walk in, it says exercise is medicine. And when I went through the programs there, truly, it's life-changing. And Mike, thank you, for giving me the opportunity to visit Paradise. And so my story is just one story out of thousands of other people, right, that Paradise has helped along the way. And so if you could, talk more about how exercise is medicine.
Thanks, Sabrina. Yeah, I remember that journey when you came to Paradise Tuman and you had a personal trainer, and I got to see that transformation. And that's the beauty of this industry and our platform, is we have all walks of life that walk in the door. And it's no secret our statistics here on Guam with diabetes, but creating the awareness and the education, I think, has really shed a light on this issue, even pre-pandemic. But now COVID kind of just made everyone more health conscious. And a lot of the testimonials I see, there's people that walk in, of course, already the doctor told them they need to be more physically active, right? There's different types of members that walk in, the ones that don't even know they're pre-diabetic. So I think the first thing I always recommend to people is make sure you do your baseline, get your baseline, do your labs, go see your primary physician and know what your foundation is. Once you know what your baseline is, it helps us professionals when you walk into Boca Box or Health Smart or Paradise to really help build a foundation for you to customize what I like to call your exercise prescription. At the end of the day, people don't know what type of daily dose of exercise to get. And I think it really comes down to just education and having the right people surrounding you to take that initial step. But I've seen people come in very sedentary, on insulin, reversing it to get off of insulin, or reversing pre-diabetic conditions, and just with simple lifestyle changes with just exercising 30 minutes a day. But you tie that in with nutrition, that is the recipe for success right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a marriage between, Chris, by the way, hi, good morning. It is a marriage between exercise and nutrition, because we've all been there, no names, but, like Sabrina and I, for example, right?
And I don't want to leave out the fact that Boca Box was also part of my journey, so thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. But, I mean, people, I feel like the mistakes that we've made is this idea that, if you work out, then you got a green light to do whatever, eat whatever during the day. And so when I was diagnosed with the A1C of 7.0, the doctor told me, he was like, yeah, you got to just basically work hard, exercise, but the real key is going to be the diet, right? And so Mike and Chubi and Rose, if you guys could kind of talk about that relationship, right? Because it's almost like one doesn't work without the other, and a lot of people don't realize that, and it's easy to get overwhelmed when you get that diagnosis and just feel like, God, you're at the bottom of this big hole, and the only way to crawl out is to, become a bodybuilder and go vegan, and that's not always the case, right?
I know you didn't say anything for me to chime in, but I'm just going to go ahead and chime in here, Chris. I just want to, your first diagnosis, people freak out. They don't know what to do. and they're ready to do anything. And they're eager and they will do whatever it takes. And then they are wonderful, because I've had patients who have done this. They're wonderful for 3 months. And I said, can you sustain this diet of just like no rice when you've always eaten rice? And now you're down to, chicken breasts and veggies the whole time, and just, can you do this? Yes, I can. And 3 months, and of course they go back to their doctor, wonderful labs, and they think they got it licked. Well, and I talked to this person 6 months later, 9 months later, and the gout has flared up and their numbers are really bad. So, you know what Rose, I want to echo what Rose said. We got to take the people where they are. Okay, what is your habit? What are your habits? What are they like? Let's see what we can change. What's your diet? Let's take a look at this. Okay, you eat rice, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, I'm not going to tell you to eliminate rice. That's ridiculous. That's not realistic. And they can, and even if they say they can, they probably can do it for a week or 2 weeks or even 3 months. I had a patient who did it for 2 years, who was wonderful for 2 years and reversed everything. Chronic kidney disease, high blood pressure. But 2 years was all it took. And then I saw him again with an amputated foot. So you know what? We got to work with their baseline. We can't throw new things at them and expect people to do that. Eating more healthy with what they're doing now, and working with that. And also along with the exercise. We got to start small. We got to start realistic. And I think the key to behavior change, the lifestyle change, is having very, very realistic goals, very measurable goals that they can actually see and record, and know what went wrong. And once they realize this, and once they realize they have control over these things, it's empowering. You start small. So I really say start small, and you can start big. And there have been people I know have been successful, just completely turning it around everything. But for the most people, it's not very effective.
Okay, so that being said, Shubi, Rose, what are some of the ways that people out there, and Mike, can start small?
What I've seen to make a huge difference in changing the way people eat is once they start tracking their food. So there are a lot of different nutrition apps out there, and it can be tedious tracking food, but it's more educational to the person. We don't expect for someone to be tracking their food for the rest of their life, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but just that as a starting point, once they see how much calories, especially if it's a lot of calories from carbs, and the little vitamins and fiber that they're getting with everything they're eating, it makes a huge difference. And just that act of knowing what they're tracking, that's enough to just give them a little pause before they can, or just a pause so they can make some changes.
Shubi?
Yeah, one of the things that, at least for us, when people start coming in and they want to start eating healthier, right, and they have issues with glucose in the bloodstream and all of that, food is cultural, right? And so a lot of people are used to eating rice and meat and not a lot of veggies. So one of the first things we like to do is use our food as an educational tool. We want to show people that there's more to carbohydrates than just rice. There's other sources out there. There's whole grain products, there's whole grain rice, whole grain bread, there's kombucha, there's quinoa, there's all these types of carbohydrates that could be good for you. And we always like to preach that, food is not a problem. There's nothing bad about food, but what the problem is that we see is that the overconsumption of certain food products is the issue. And so we like Rose said, we like to show people what proper portions are, how much they should eat of certain things, and then use our food as a way for them to say, oh, okay, I can do this on my own. I can, use the plate I have at home, or a box or container, and then portion my food out that way. So they kind of get used to that, and it becomes a behavioral change.
Mike?
Yeah, so going back to what, Rose and Jesse were talking about, it's really nourish to flourish is a slogan I really like when it comes to having a relationship with food. I've taken courses, and it's a two-pronged. Mixed with exercise, you got to have the right fuel to perform better for your sport or for your exercise program in general. But there's a foundation that we like to talk about when it's creating your exercise prescription. It's called the FIT principle. So it's frequency, intensity, time, and type. So that is the foundation to any exercise program, especially for someone who's brand new. They don't know where to start. Education and a needs analysis, understanding what they've done in the past, what they're currently doing, how much sleep are they getting. All of those things come into play when it comes to building a consistent exercise prescription and making that lifestyle change. But yeah, that fit principle is going to be a crucial component, especially when you're putting in a nutrition program and trying to tie both together.
All right. Well, I want to go to Frank in just a minute, but one thing I did want to shine light on is the fact that if you listen to Jesse's podcast on the KOM Podcast Network, Boca Talks, he always emphasizes, self-discipline. And even though we live on Guam in basically an environment of perpetual temptation when it comes to food and everything like that, you are a lot stronger than you actually think. And once you establish good patterns and behavior patterns, and if your family practices this, then it gets less and less challenging. It's you do it once, it's kind of awkward and it's unfamiliar. You do it twice, it's like, okay, I've done that. Or you do it 3 times, that's a pattern you can repeat. So just hats off to you for doing that. And to Rosé's point about actually logging your food, I've always been like Team Fitbit, like for going on like 10 years and everything. And to Rosé's point, it used to be very, very laborious to actually, enter and log in what food you've ate, how much water you've consumed and everything, and put in the calories. Now, these days, you can actually just like scan the barcode. It'll put all that stuff in for you. It takes 2 seconds. So really, really easy. So that kind of thing is a lot easier to do. So now we're over to Frank, if I may, Frank. When it comes to structuring these programs from an insurance standpoint, what are some of the things you take into consideration and some of the educational campaigns and the messages that you try and say, to your clients?
Well, the first thing that we take into consideration is the numbers. And it's clearly and evident that Guam has a problem with diabetics. If we were a country, we would be number 10 in the world in regards to the incidence of diabetes. We're about 18.7% of our population, that is between the ages of 20 to 79, are diabetics. And that correlates pretty much in the numbers that we see in our health plan. So we look at the numbers and then we look at things that can help our members. And some of those things that we do in our mission to help people improve their lives is partner with professionals like the ones that we have in this forum. We create awareness, we educate and inform, and we support the behavioral and lifestyle changes. For instance, we have numerous partnerships with the Guam 7-Day Adventists, where they have several programs to work and prevent diabetes. Also, we work with Rosé, and we work with Sagua Managua dietitians. We work with Dr. Alford. So all of these programs, and we work, as you probably recall, we were some of the first in the market to be able to provide access to gyms. Why? Because part of the problems that we have with diabetes is that it's a weight issue, the inactivity, family history, and in fact, it's amazing to see how much of a family history and actually ethnicity affects diabetes. We have the Pacific Islanders are one of the highest across the world in regards to diabetes. In fact, the Marshall Islands is number 1 in the world. So in our side, after seeing those the numbers, what we do is we partner with all of the sources to provide support, education, and more importantly, behavioral changes in lifestyles to our members. That's the part that we contribute to the membership that we have. Most recently, we've been working on a pilot program with Rosé and Dr. Alford, where we're beginning to use, and when you talk about, yes, monitoring what you eat and monitoring how do you digest it, very difficult, but we are now using CGMs, glucose, continuous glucose monitors, and we have a pilot program that Rosé can reference that pilot program a little better, and we're using both the Libre and the Descom, which are basically items and tools that help individuals monitor their glucose changes after they eat or before they eat. And Rosé, please tell us more about those programs that we pilot with you.
Sure. This is a super exciting program. So when we think of checking our blood glucose, many of us are familiar with the finger sticks, and that's just your blood sugar at that moment in time. So the technology with continuous glucose monitor is that the device is constantly tracking your blood sugar So when you go and see your doctor, or when the clients come to see me, we have a chart of how the blood glucose changes over time. So this has been super helpful in figuring out people's eating and physical activity patterns, when they over medicate or don't give enough insulin. And it's, for diabetes, I think it's a life-changing tool. And I hope more people can try it out, and I hope it can go beyond the pilot phase.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're actually having the diabetes and technology today, that discussion with Dr. Erica Alford and Dr. Juan Espinosa. Right. So we're definitely going to have more information about the constant glucose monitoring device that you're talking about.
Now the funny thing, the elephant in the room, and I guess we can start with Agnes of this, is Agnes, you brought up that wonderful point, and I appreciate, like, as a registered nurse, how you epitomize, the tough Chamorro love, right? It's like, hey, I could, kind of use kid gloves on this, but hey, you have to make strong lifestyle choices. But you also said people very often, and it's just human nature. You could get like a little bit lazy, or you backslide for whatever reason. How do we keep that momentum?
Yeah, or Agnes, in my case, right? So look at this, right? I get a pre-diabetic diagnosis, and right away, and Dr. Hoa, he said, Chris, you don't need to go all crazy. Just cut everything in half. But my mentality was like, oh no, hell, screw that. I'm gonna go crazy. I'm not gonna eat rice. Don't get no potatoes, no potato chips, no nothing, and I'm just gonna get this number so low that I can afford to go back to doing what I was doing that led to this diagnosis. So you're right. You're absolutely right. The pace, what is that? The turtle wins the race, right?
Yeah,
but a lot of people in their mind think like, oh, if I just like work so hard, my numbers are going to be so good that I'm going to be back to normal.
So
again.
everybody in this room, how do we actually get people to stay the course?
Well, you know what? I tell them, yes, you are going to fall off the wagon, and don't expect it. It's just natural. So once they know that, I said, but please just get back on. That's what you have to do. The next day, okay, you picked out Thanksgiving Day and maybe through the weekend, but let's get back on course. So it helps to have some kind of support group. If you can form groups or communities that will say, hey, let's just get going and start again. Don't just come back on. That's what I encourage people. And check up again with your healthcare providers or people who give you support, and really garner that so you can move on. And it's okay. It's okay to fail. You will. Don't be surprised. So that's what I tell them. Be realistic. And you know what? I just want to say most of the people I work with are more elderly. They're more sickly. I tell you, with all due respect, Michael, they're not going to go to Paradise, even though they're retirees and they have free membership. I'm serious. They have not. So how do we address that? I go into the senior centers, or our last scope of work with Mountain Pacific, which is the company I work for currently, and the adult daycare. I was talking to one of the seniors. She says, look, I can bend now. And she just bent down, bent her knees and reached the floor, and she came back. She goes, before I couldn't even do this. I said, well, how did that happen? She said, here, we just kind of do stretches, and this is what happens. So it's just like, this is what I mean by small things. You can do it, something you can do consistently and stick to it, and she was so happy. And for a senior citizen who has problems reaching for things or bending down or lifting things, this is phenomenal, and it's a plus for their quality of life. Just encourage. I know you don't see a whole lot of these kinds of folks, but when you do, encourage them. It's real fortifying for them to hear those words.
And to be fair, Mike can be a pretty convincing guy. I'm sure he could change some of those manumku to get in the gym.
Yeah. First of all, you just tell them it's free.
I want to bring my camera outside now so you can see all the manumkus that are here right now. This is what I like to call the Guam retirees time. They're all here from like 9 to 12 o'clock. Paper walking, they're stretching, but we cater to a lot of GovGuam retirees. And going back to that, when you come in, I think that's the stigma that people, when they get the results, they have this fear, right? They don't know where to start, and they're scared to go to certain places. But right when they walk in the door and they start, the hardest part is showing up. So once you show up and you walk up the stairs or you walk in the door, you already won. So, you know, I think teaming up together with everyone on this panel, it's up to us to break that culture and that stigma that it makes people feel comfortable to be okay to get their daily dose of exercise, whether it be on a treadmill in the free weights, inside a facility, or just visiting your doctor. I think that's like the biggest step.
Yeah.
And people are always fearful of that. But no, I want to bring my camera out so you
Yeah. No, Mike, I've seen it, man, and I think during this pandemic, one thing that's a real benefit is that the mentality that people have, and I don't know if it's just because you know, fear of mortality because of the virus, but a lot of people are out there going to Paradise. My uncle go to Paradise. I've seen my uncle like do their little laps inside Paradise. I mean, they go out, they're doing walking. So I feel like we really chipped away at that stigma that only, you know, buff people work out, or only, you know, people who are already fit get exercise. And now you're seeing, like you said, Mike, more people who maybe didn't used to try to get fit out here, you know, just trying to make the most of their life.
And you know the awesome thing I've seen, Chris, about the Monumco who work out and everything, they may be like really crushing it on the elliptical. They still expect you to almond them when you walk by.
You know, one of the things that surprised me too, and why I'm actually very happy to be part of this panel and be part of this program, is when we think about what has happened in the past few decades, right? Technology, science has been blowing up. I mean, we've created a vaccine for a new virus that happened in the past year, right? The advancements in technology and in science have been tenfold, but you would think that because of this, our health would become a lot better, but it hasn't. And it's just gotten worse. And so how do we link science, technology, and how we link both to make what we want? The goal is to get people healthier, right? Every single day. So how do we link that together? And I'm very excited to see what everybody on this panel has.
And Jesse brings an interesting point, because while technology has improved our lives in one way, it actually has made us worse in regards to diabetics. Why? Because we become more sedentary. Kids today, you know, they are spending time, go out, play with your friends. Yes, I'm already playing with my 100 friends online, you know, and that's the sedentarism has actually exploded, and the amount and numbers of diabetes continue to increase around the world because exactly of the point of inactivity. That's one thing that we need to change, and I wish that schools continue to provide more programs in regards to physical activity. That's one thing that we need to bring back to school, because that clearly has created an explosion in diabetes, the sedentarism that we have across the nation and across the world.
Yeah, and it's not only the Manumku that are the ones that are affected with health issues. You know, when I was working at the Department of Education in the nutrition department, one of our goals was to change the food so that the kids ate healthier. But the overall goal for us was, what programs can we put in place to decrease decrease obesity, you know? And we worked, I think we worked for about 3 to 4 years on certain programs, getting a lot of people involved. And the first year, we didn't see that much of a difference. Second year, we saw a steady, we maintained our obesity rates. And then about the third or fourth year, we saw a dip. We decreased obesity within the schools by 1%. You know, with everything that was going on, that was a huge win for us. But again, you know, like everything else, it's about consistency. The programs work, physical activity works, changing the food in the schools work, nutrition education works, but it has to be consistent. Same thing like the people at Paradise, Mike and the people at Paradise are doing, encouraging consistency with working out and being physically active. Same thing Rosé's doing, and Miss Agnes in educating the people about nutrition. It's all about consistency. We got to find a way to keep people on track and keep them on the right path.
Can I just address some very practical things that people can do related to eating healthy or even exercise? We need to realize what our triggers are. Okay, you drive by your favorite bakery on your way home or your way to work every time, and it's just a habit. I'm just gonna just run in there, run in, and grab
I feel
my
attacked.
favorite. Oh, Crown Bakery has their donuts come out at 4 p.m. and there you go. You know, So, how about taking a different route? How about avoiding those triggers? How about you run into a mom and pop store, you're going to buy a bag of ice, and you see I don't know what, you see everything under the sun in the mom and pop store. How about you put blinders on? How about you're at Ross? Before you pay for your things in that hour-long line, you go through a gauntlet of junk food. Oh my gosh, just at your fingertips. And then you end up with a cart load of stuff by the time you reach the cashiers, their little thing there. So it's ridiculous. Everything in our society is working against being.
Man, Miss Agnes,
preach, girl, preach.
You just described my trip to the store.
Realize these things. Maybe have your husband get in line. If I put my husband in line there, he's not going to buy anything except what I tell him to buy. And that's all he's going to get. And I don't know, maybe put blinders so you don't see all the stuff.
No, Miss Agnes, you're totally right.
Yeah.
I went to the store yesterday, and because I'm trying to do these changes too to flip my numbers around. I got down to the store. I didn't even know what I was going to get, but I was like, oh, I'll just get a drink. But then it's like, okay, I can't drink that. It's all sugar. The only drink I could drink is water, which I already have in my flask. And then the number of things I could eat at a mom and pop store at the village level, it's non-existent. There's nothing fresh there. It's all processed, carb snacks. So you're right. Like if you're really trying to make changes, you'd be surprised how much of like a mom and pop store, even a grocery store, I mean, it's just totally off limits for you, right? It's almost like you just go to the produce section and that's it. Get your water.
Well, know what you're going to get. Know what you're going to get in there before you go in, or send somebody who will get what you want to get, and that's it.
Go in there and get me some quinoa, boy. Don't come out without it, okay? Keep your head down and just get the quinoa and get out.
I really want to go back to the point of Miss Agnes bringing up having a support group. So illness in general can be very isolating. When you're sick, you feel like it's all on you, right? You're the only one dealing with this issue. Mm-hmm. But when you have chronic illnesses like diabetes, this is something that you have to deal with long term, and it's falling off the wagon is because it's frustrating. People go through life changes and they don't understand how to tailor their diabetes management plan. So when you're engaged with your healthcare provider, with a dietitian, with your physical trainer, you have people that you're accountable to. So getting people to put that burden and reach out to the supports in the community. I think that's what really makes a difference. With Miss Agnes's story about how her client went from curing themselves, and then 2 years later they were back and in a worse condition, and that's because they hadn't seen someone in 2 years. So showing people that even when they're doing good, it's still great to keep your healthcare team engaged. And not only that, but also your family and friends. I think bringing in the community into that helps to change the attitude.
Good points, Rose.
Frank, it must be wonderful from your vantage point, like seeing so many different community partners and so many people who, this isn't a job, it's a calling, it's a passion. They want to help their fellow Guamanians like get well, and you at the center point of that, structuring these programs based on this. It's a wonderful ecosystem to have, I would think.
And it's more wonderful when you actually see the stories, ultimately, the people that come to our office and thank us for putting together some of these partnerships and help their lives. And going back to some of the things that the panel has said, everything in moderation helps. I don't know if you know this, but you can actually drive from drinking water. So we got to moderate things. We got to moderate our portions. When we go to the restaurants, and it doesn't matter whether it's local restaurants or even national chains, the amount of food that is being put on our plates is incredible. And what I tell people is, you don't need to finish all of that, But back to what is important, yes, creating the opportunities for our insured members to provide awareness to them, educate them, and more importantly, provide them with an opportunity to change their lives. That's something that we treasure and something that we do very well at Campbell Select Care. And thank you, all of you, for being our partners, because you clearly help us change people's lives.
Well, truly, the honor is ours just to have so many people who are learned experts, and again, people who genuinely have, the passion and do this stuff day in and day out just because you believe in it and you practice it in your daily lives so much. So, Rose Calvo from Payless, Agnes White, registered nurse, Jess Rosario from the Boca Box. Frank Campillo from Calvo Select Care, and Mikey Scrow down at Paradise Fitness. Thank each and every one of you for being part of this forum
And
today.
remember, the holidays are coming. Don't need too much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. This has been very, very informative, and this is also going to be up on YouTube as a standalone interview because there's so much here that people can really take advantage of. So thank you guys once again.
Right,
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. And our discussion will continue tomorrow in our series, Diabetes and Technology. Today we'll be talking with Dr. Erica Alford and Dr. Juan Espinoza, zooming in from California. Then on Thursday, we will talk about diabetes and technology, the future, with Dr. Francisco Pascual. He'll be zooming in from Atlanta, Georgia, and Dr. David Klonoff. He is known as the founding father of diabetes technology. Yeah. Then Friday, we'll round it off with a virtual town hall. We will be bringing in global and local experts to talk about diabetes awareness, take your questions, and also about the upcoming validation study.
Right on. It's going to be a great opportunity. So tune in all week, 9 o'clock, and then of course we close it out with a big town hall on Friday, 9:42, Tuesday, November 16, 2021. The show proudly brought to you by Pacific Points, Calvo Enterprises, IT&E, and Jack in the Box. Let's break our fast, guys, with 3 Squares Marketplace next, right here on the link. Good morning.
A healthier you, making diabetes history on Guam.
Presented in partnership with Calvo Select Care and Paradise Fitness Center.
1 in 6 people on Guam are affected by diabetes. The terrible impact of the disease on the island has only been amplified by the COVID-19 pandemic, as many of those hospitalized and those we've lost had pre-existing underlying conditions like diabetes. As November is Diabetes Awareness Month, KUAM News has partnered with AI Health to raise awareness for this disease that affects so many of us and to showcase a number of ways to prevent, treat, and care for those with diabetes. Join us for AI Health's A Healthier You, Making Diabetes History on Guam, a multi-platform campaign on KUAM communications, including a 6-part series on KUAM News Primetime and Weekend Edition, and our digital media platforms kicking off on World Diabetes Day, Sunday, November 14th. Daily interviews with expert panelists on the link beginning November 15th, and a special interactive town hall meeting on the link with experts from AI Health, with more information on their diabetes validation study and a new level of precision care that aims to create a healthier Guam. A Healthier You, Making Diabetes History on Guam. A look at how diet, exercise, and technological advances in disease monitoring and medical care can have a positive impact on our community.
The Healthier You series on KU.